For 300 years, armies marched across entire continents, all driven by faith to wage a holy war for just one city. But here's the twist. The Crusades did way more than just spill blood on holy ground. They actually, and completely accidentally, kick-started the end of the Middle Ages. So let's dive in and figure out how on earth that happened.
So that's the big question we're tackling, right? How did this singular mission to go and reclaim Jerusalem end up completely changing the balance of power, the economy, and pretty much the entire body of knowledge for all of Europe? Well, the answer is just packed with unintended consequences.
All right, to really get a handle on the Crusades, first we've got to understand the world that launched them. And believe me, it was a Europe that looked vastly different from anything we'd recognize today.
Just imagine a continent in total chaos. The Roman Empire was gone, and Europe just shattered into these countless little kingdoms. There was no central government, invasions were a constant threat, and most people lived in fear. To survive, they fell into a system we call feudalism, where regular folks pledged their life and loyalty to a local lord in exchange for protection. It basically locked society into this really rigid pyramid.
But amidst all that division, there was one institution that connected absolutely everyone, the Roman Catholic Church. It wasn't just about a shared faith or the promise of heaven. It gave people a sense of security and order that no king or lord could offer. You could say it was the glue holding medieval society together.
And the guy in charge, the Pope, wasn't just some spiritual guide. He was, without a doubt, the most powerful political figure in Europe. And he had two ultimate weapons to make sure everyone knew it. Excommunication, which meant you were kicked out of the church and your soul was doomed to hell, and interdiction, where he could shut down all religious services in an entire kingdom. No baptisms, no marriages, no funerals.
And these were not empty threats. I mean, take the story of the German Emperor Henry IV. He got a little too big for his britches and decided to challenge the Pope's authority. Well, the Pope didn't hesitate. He slapped Henry's entire empire with an interdiction. And just like that, Henry's own nobles, fearing for their immortal souls, turned against him. His power just evaporated.
And what happened next just perfectly shows you how total the church's power was. The most powerful ruler in Europe had to personally travel to the Pope's castle, stand outside barefoot in the freezing snow for 3 straight days, just begging to be forgiven. I mean, wow. It's proof that before the Crusades, absolutely nobody, not even an emperor, was more powerful than the Pope.
So it's into this world, a world of scattered kingdoms, all united under this one incredibly powerful church, that a call for a holy war is about to land.
For hundreds of years, Jerusalem had been under Muslim control. But for the most part, Christian pilgrims were allowed to visit their holy sites. But that all changed around 1095. A new, more aggressive group, the Seljuk Turks, took over. They immediately banned Jewish and Christian practices in the city, and that sent absolute shockwaves across the Christian world.
At the same exact time, the Turks were also invading the Byzantine Empire, which was pretty much what was left of the old Eastern Roman Empire. So in a moment of pure desperation, the Byzantine emperor sends a message to his biggest religious rival, way out west, the Pope in Rome, practically begging for knights to help him fight back.
Pope Urban II saw this as a massive opportunity. He didn't just send a few knights. No, he went big. He called for a crusade, a holy war to take back Jerusalem. And he made an offer that no medieval knight could possibly refuse. Fight for God, and you get a one-way ticket to heaven. All your sins completely wiped clean.
Now, that promise of salvation was a huge motivator, for sure. But like with any big moment in history, the reasons people signed up were, well, a lot more complicated. It wasn't just about God.
Let's just peel back the layers here. For the Pope, this was a massive power play, a chance to unite both halves of Christianity, East and West, under his command. For the knights, especially all those younger sons who had no land to inherit, this was a golden ticket to get rich, get powerful, and maybe even carve out their own kingdom. And for the merchants in Europe, it was a business move, plain and simple, a way to smash the Muslim monopoly on those incredibly valuable trade routes to Asia. So yeah, faith and personal ambition were all tangled up together. So, the call went out, and for the next 300 years, waves of Europeans marched east. But the reality of this holy war was often anything but holy. The First Crusade, against all odds, was a success. They actually captured Jerusalem in 1099 and set up their own little kingdoms. But that victory didn't last. By 1187, the brilliant Muslim Sultan, Saladin,
took the city back. And by the time we get to the Fourth Crusade, the whole mission had become totally corrupted. The Crusaders, just driven by pure greed, ended up attacking and looting the Christian city of Constantinople, the very city they were supposed to be helping in the first place.
The sheer brutality of this conflict is hard to even wrap your head around. I want you to hear this quote. It's from a knight who was there when the Christians took Jerusalem. He wrote, "Our feet were colored to the ankles with the blood of the slain." It just gives you this chilling glimpse into the horrifying reality of what happened.
And the contrast between the leaders is just so stark. When the Christian commander, Godfrey of Bouillon, took Jerusalem, he ordered the massacre of every single inhabitant to, in his words, purify the city. But when Saladin retook it decades later, he forbade any massacres. He was known, even by his enemies, as a man of honor. It really complicates any simple story of good guys versus bad guys, doesn't it?
So, in the end, the Crusades failed. They failed at their main goal. Christians never permanently held the Holy Land. But in that failure, they accidentally lit a revolutionary fire back in Europe.
Just look at this before and after picture. Before the Crusades, popes and local lords held all the power. But afterwards, with so many lords selling off land to fund their wars, kings got much stronger. The old, isolated economy based on manors gave way to this huge boom in trade, which made cities grow like crazy. And a quiet, isolated Europe was suddenly flooded with new ideas from the East.
And we're not talking about vague ideas here. These are real, tangible things that changed everything. Knights came back with a taste for luxury goods like silk and spices, and that created brand new trade routes. They brought back technologies like the compass and the astrolabe, which would literally make the age of exploration possible. Gunpowder changed war forever, and ideas like algebra and Arabic numerals completely revolutionized science and math in Europe.
And this really is the incredible irony of it all. As a holy war, the Crusades were a military failure, but the cultural and economic shockwave they created, that succeeded. It woke Europe up from a long, long sleep, reconnected it with the rest of the world, and paved the way for the Renaissance.
The story of the Crusades is such a powerful reminder that history is so often driven by things nobody saw coming. This clash of civilizations, born from faith and raw ambition, led to so much destruction. But it also led to this burst of creation that remade a continent. And that leaves us with one last question to think about. What kinds of collisions, cultural, technological, ideological, are shaping and maybe even creating and destroying the world we live in right now?